Hi, this is Chris with Fischer Workshops in Taiwan. In this tutorial, I will show you how to make a very detailed and beautifully crafted leather hip bag. For a small fee, you can download a PDF file with the pattern, instructions, and required tools for this project at fischerworkshops.com. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video. Let's start by first tracing out the centerpiece with a scratch awl. Then moisten the leather with water and wait 5 minutes before stamping. Using a texture tool of your choice, begin stamping in and around your traced line. When you're finished and the leather is dried, we can then apply some dye to the leather. After tracing and cutting out the body for my bag, I can begin to draw out my stitching grooves with my groover. Be patient and take your time to make sure you don't slip and damage your cover. Using my pattern template, I first mark where I need to start and stop my outer stitching grooves.
I'm afraid that's all we've got. You say you just don't see it. He says it's perfect sense. You just can't get agreement in this present.
Next, let's draw out stitching grooves on the bag's gusset. Do this for both sides of the gusset. Next, draw out stitching grooves on the back cover. Now let's do the same for the pocket front. Again, we'll do the same for the exterior belt strap. Now use an edger to trim the areas we are going to bevel later on. Notice at this point that I'm only trimming one side of the leather. Let's continue to do this for the illustrated pieces. Now using my pattern, I want to mark my stitching points onto the belt strap, and don't trim the edges beyond those marks.
I wasn't there that morning when my father passed away. I didn't get to tell him.
Now on the back cover for the centerpiece, trim front and back of the top section. Now thoroughly dampen the front and the back of the bag's gusset.
I'm sure I heard his echo in my baby's newborn tears. I just wish I could have told him in the
Fold the gusset smooth side facing out in half from top to bottom. Here you can use a roller, glass jar, or mallet to apply the crease. Next, fold each end in half again and firmly roll down the crease. Now let's mold the leather to the shape of our pocket and secure it with a little rubber cement. There, now we've set it in place and it can be set aside to dry. Now let's mark where we need to punch holes on the interior belt strap. Next, apply a leather stain evenly in a circular motion until an even coat has been applied.
Standing in line, marking time, waiting for the welfare dime. 'Cause they can't buy a job. Man in a silk suit hurries by as he catches the poor old lady.
After your stitch lines are drawn out and the pieces have been trimmed, you can begin to stain the pieces. Using the cutout centerpiece, trace around the back of the textured centerpiece and apply glue within the lines.
That's just the way it is. Ah, but don't you believe them? Said, hey, little boy, you can't go where the others go. You don't look like they do. Said, hey, old man, how can you stand to think that way? Did you really think about it before you made the rules? He said, son, that's just the way it is. Some things have never changed. That's just the way it is.
To stain the gusset, simply spread the folds and rub the stain between the creases. After the stain is dried, apply a flat or glossy sheen. I usually apply 3 to 5 coats of sheen until I achieve my desired results. Apply a little slicking gum to the edges and use a slicker to burnish. On a hard surface, use the pointed end of the slicker to burnish the edges.
Well, they passed a law in 64 to give those who ain't got a little more. But it
Here's how it should look after slicking.
There's a law don't change another's mind when all it sees is the hiring time. There's the line on the
Now I want to mark where my logo will go and the hole where my rope will be attached.
that's just the way it is. Some things will never change.
To strengthen the hole, I will attach an eyelet.
The way it is. That's just the way it is.
Now I will stamp my logo onto the label. Using some rivets, I will attach the label to the body of the bag.
Some days life feels perfect, other days it just ain't working. The good, the bad, the right, the wrong, and everything in between.
Yo, it's crazy, amazing. We can turn our heart through the words we say. Mountains crumble with every syllable.
Use some leather glue to adhere the decorative centerpiece to the body of the bag and let it set until dry. Using a stitching chisel, punch stitching holes along the stitching groove we drew earlier.
Well, it's crazy to imagine words from my lips as the arms of compassion. Mountains crumble with every syllable. Hope can live or die. So speak life to the deadest, darkest night.
Using a stitching horse, saddle stitch the center onto the body.
When the sun won't shine and you don't know why. Look into the eyes of the broken hearted. Watch them come alive as soon as you speak hope. You speak love. You speak life.
Punch a hole and attach your concho.
Lift your head a little higher. Spread the love like fire. Hope will fall like rain when you speak life with the words you say. Raise your thoughts a little higher. Use your words to inspire. Joy will fall like rain when you speak life with the things you say.
Next, attach the rope and beads as illustrated. Now mark where the belt will be attached to the body.
Some days life feels perfect.
Now apply several coats of sheen to the rest of your pieces.
Give up forever to touch you, 'cause I know that you feel me somehow. You're the closest to heaven that I'll ever be, and I don't wanna go home.
Attach the buttons to the belt interior using a press or an inexpensive button attachment tool. These tools can be purchased at most craft stores or leather craft stores. On the exterior belt piece, use a stitching chisel to punch holes along the stitching groove.
And you can't fight the tears that ain't coming. All the moment of truth in your lies. When everything feels like the movies. Yeah, you bleed just to know.
Glue the two pieces together, being careful not to apply too much glue to the edges.
To see me, 'cause I don't think they'd understand. just want you to know who I am.
After the cement has had a couple of minutes to set, attach two ends together. Using a pair of hole punching pliers, punch holes through to the other side.
And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know.
Using a stitching horse, saddle stitch the ends together as illustrated.
Want you to know who I am. I just want you to know who I am.
Leave the end that will be attached to the body unstitched. Smooth the edges until even with a sander.
You're the closest to heaven that I'll ever be, and I don't wanna go home right now. And all I could taste is this moment.
Apply a burnishing gum to the edges and use your wood slicker to burnish the edges.
Sooner or later it's over. I just don't wanna miss you tonight. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am. And you can't fight the tears that ain't coming. All the moments
Carefully roughen the surface where adhesive will be applied and the belt will be attached.
everything feels like the movies. Yeah, you bleed just to know you're alive. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am.
Use a stitching chisel to punch the remainder of the stitching holes. To finish, saddle stitch the belt to the bag body.
And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's
Follow the illustration to close your stitch.
I just want you to know who I am. I just want you to know who I am.
Here's how it should look when you reach this point.
You turned me on. You lit me up like the sweetest cup I share with you. You lit me up. Don't you ever stop. I'm here with you.
Burnish the interior cover with your wood slicker and apply adhesive to the cover and bag body and attach.
You follow me, and I follow. What you gonna do when the things go wrong? What you gonna do when it all backs up? What you gonna do when the love runs down? What you gonna do when the flames go up? Who's gonna come and turn the tide? What's it gonna take to make a dream survive? Who's got the time to calm a storm inside? Who's gonna save you? Alive and kicking, stay until your love is. Alive and kicking, stay until your love is. Until your love is alive. You lift me up to the crystal top so I can see. You lead me on till the feelings come and the lights that shine on. But if that don't mean nothing, like if someday it should fall through, you take me home where the magic's from, and I'll be with you. What you gonna do when things go wrong? What you gonna do when it all backs up? What you gonna do when you love
After you finish punching your stitching holes, then go ahead and saddle stitch the front together.
turn the tides? What's it gonna take to make a dream survive? Who's got the time to calm a storm inside? Don't say goodbye in the final seconds. Who's gonna say that? Ooh, I love and kicking. Stay until your love is. I love and kicking.
If necessary, sand the edges until even, then apply a burnishing gum and slick until smooth. Now let's attach the folded gusset to the pocket front. Carefully cut off the excess leather. Let's now burnish the front pocket of the bag.
A friend of mine, she cries at night and she calls me on the phone. Sees babies everywhere she goes and she wants one of her own. She's waited long enough, she says, and still
Now using a 3 or 1 prong stitching hole punch, work your way around the gusset and the pocket.
she'll have to choose, and it tears her up inside. She's scared to run out of time.
Now saddle stitch the gusset to the front pocket.
And I watch their bodies change. I know they see the same in me, and it makes us both feel strange. No matter how you tell yourself, it's what we all go through. Those lines are pretty hard to take when they're staring back at you. Scared to run out of time. When did the choices get so hard? With so much more at stake, life gets mighty precious when there's less of it to waste.
Sand the edges and burnish to a shine.
Scared to run out of time. Just when I thought I had enough and all my tears were shed, no promise left unbroken, there were no painful words unsaid. You came along and showed me I could leave it all behind. You opened up my heart again, and then much to my surprise, I found a love, babe, love in the nick of time. I found a love, darling, love in the nick of time.
Before you attach the front pocket onto the bag body, punch holes for your tassels. Fix your eyelids to the holes you punched in the gusset. Now attach the front pocket onto the body of the bag.
Way out here, looking on the docks. Everyone sees the long day through.
After punching stitching holes, saddle stitch the pocket to the body's bag, sand, and burnish. Here's how it should look at this point. Cut 6 long strips of matching leather to attach his tassels. Tie the tassels on as illustrated. After both ends have been tied, cut off the excess leather. When finished, you should have a beautifully crafted hip bag.